I can thank you, Ken. Thank you. I'm so embarrassed that, but I appreciate it, your acknowledgement of my old-fashioned ideas by sitting in, we used to call these cemetery rows, but it's almost like a garden row with all the little flowers around. Anyway, that's nice. I like seeing your eyes. You know, that's important to me. Okay. I, next Monday, is that paper one or paper two?
Paper one.
Paper one. And paper one is where you just respond. Is that correct? And then paper two is where you deal with the material you know. Okay. You've had, so I've looked at what you've done before. This work that you all have done, Mr. Charlton sent me on, and it's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, how much below the title line are you able to deal with? That's what we want to know about today. Is that fair enough? And if you don't like me today, it's too bad because you're not seeing me tomorrow. Okay, I am going to, what we're going to do right now, you've seen a bunch, I'm not going to give you a practice test, but we've seen a lot of tests. This is something, I just want you to look at this. I'm gonna pass these out, everybody take one. Oh, wait a minute, yeah. Pass these back. In fact, I'm gonna give you all one for paper one and paper two while we're here together. Everybody should have a page that says, okay, everybody should have a page that says paper one and paper two. And these are yours. Start a bonfire, but not in that. Two. One. Two. One. You don't have one. Yes.
What did you do for yours?
You don't have a paper one? That means you already know it.
Oh, yeah. I'm coming else last year.
Pass that down. Okay, I'm gonna give these to you, and everybody take one. This says paper two, and one of them says paper one. I bet you can read the requirement for the class. Everybody takes one. They're not very organized, but take one. No, they're not. Nothing's stapled together. Here's, you need a paper one, don't you?
I just got some up more.
They're not stapled. The machine was out of staples or something. Okay. You need a paper. All right. Now,
I need a paper.
and you know what, you were the first one, here's two. You were the first one.
Thank you.
Okay, now, we're gonna get to paper two in a minute, because that's where you're dealing with the plays that you've read. Let me tell you about paper one. You will have, you know that you have, that's where you just get something, you just get a poem and some kind of fiction, short story, part of a book, whatever. And they'll say, choose, run, and write a commentary. You know all that, right? Okay. I'm gonna tell you right now, most people will shy away from the poem. Oh, I hate poetry. And you're used, and you say, don't you dare do that. Sometimes the poem is a lot more available. Does that make sense to you all? Or I think you've heard this from me before. Now, when was the first time you ever saw this TPK? I'm pulling out something from your 8th grade. Where's the first time you ever saw this?
I'll be honest, this is the first time.
Yeah, I've never seen this.
You've never seen this before?
We went over vaguely what it was in 9th grade and then we never used it.
All right, well, that's all right, then I don't have to apologize for repeating things right there. Oh, I'll say thank you, I pay you for that answer, because I hate to feel like a fool any more than I normally do. Okay, now this, when you're dealing with paper one, I'm gonna go through this in a hurry. You don't know how to approach it. I'm going to suggest you have 2 hours. That's one of the things I like about the IB essay better than the AP essays. That you have 2 hours. You don't have to go, oh! So you do have time to plan, not to make it lengthy outlines, but to do this. And I suggest that you think about using this little outline when you start a commentary. Look at the title. You don't have to make, it's a deep meaning. It may not be. It may be playing the game, and it may just be about playing soccer. But just notice the title. When you're writing something and you give it a title, you don't just say, oh, what in the world? I don't know what to name. I guess I'll do this. You think about it a long time. And even when you name it, sometimes you wonder. I think the one about when Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, you may say, well, he was just drunk and he threw a dart at the board and said, so this Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf said, hey, I'll just do that. He had already written the play, but he didn't know what to name it. He couldn't quite come up with it. And that's where he came up with it. Then he went back and added the little song, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, because of the internal monologue. He saw something that, God, yes, I love that. Oh, Albie died this year. What a loss to the world. Okay, and this is what people, the next one, TP, before you start analyzing the deeper meaning of the moonlight, don't forget to use the literal. Translate the poem, or, if you will, the story, into your own words. This is literal, denotative. Resist the urge to jump to interpretation. Don't show immediately that you understand all of the symbolism. But on the other hand, the worst thing you can do is spend 2 or 3 paragraphs with summary. Interpretation, or paraphrasing, is not summary. Right to the side. Keep it short. Cut to the chase. Don't give every little detail. The speaker of the poem is having an argument with her mother and cannot decide whether to just show respect or tell the truth. Period. You don't have to go into the history. In the past, she has done this, and Don't go into all that detail. Just paraphrase it so that the reader of the essay knows exactly that you understand what's going on here on the literal level. Now, C, connotation. Examine the poem for meaning beyond the literal. Look for diction. I want you to circle diction. Word choice. When you have nothing else to say, you can talk about the choice of words. When you say to me, Ms. Adams, I have no idea what's going on here, I will say, look at the word. Armor. Armor is something that you put on for protection. Or you might say, it's using the word armor suggests many things, such as strength, going into battle. The speaker thinks he's in battle. The speaker feels like he needs to defend himself. You don't have to know that that's true. The best words in the world are might be, perhaps. Put those down. Those are your favorite words, perhaps. Don't ever say stands for. Implies, suggests, implies. Oh, I love that word, implies. And it's spelled I-M-P-L-I-E-S. By the way. Connotation, of course, just means the emotional meaning of words. And a lot of times, what I like, if I don't know really what's going on, I'll say, all right, it suggests this. He could have used the word put on his clothing, but then that gives a completely different meaning. You can say what he doesn't say as much as what he does say. Okay? Attitude, tone, circle that, gotta do. Remember, it's not the poet or the writer, it's the speaker, usually, especially in a poem. What's the attitude? And I've given you lots of things to look for. SS, shifts and structure. This, again, I was asking Mr. Talton before. When I am grading essays, where I see the biggest fault, or weakness, not fault, weakness in young writers is in the lack of willingness to discuss structure, how it's put together. Why do we have just one sentence here? Why do we have every paragraph starting with this? Why do we have all one paragraph and no divisions? Look at structure, repetition, etc. And then go back and look at the title again to see if after reading the poem or story, it gives you any insight. And this is where you're finally ready for this. The theme. What is the poem about? That's the subject. A mother and her daughter having an argument. Determine what the poet is saying about each of these. Remember that theme must be expressed as a complete sentence. And I think you're probably beyond this, but as ninth graders you weren't. Theme states what is, not what should be. Theme is never a sermon. Don't you dare use your essay, your one shot at college credit, to preach a sermon. If you want to write me and tell me everything that I do wrong, you do that. But don't put it in this essay. This is just about what is. And then it's an observation about the subject now, concept, pebble in the lake analogy. Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Have I done this with you before? I know I'm embarrassed to cover. Have I done the pebble in the water?
I don't think so. If you have, I don't remember.
All right, well, I'm embarrassed if I keep repeating myself. That's what old people do. Okay. All right. Now, when you throw a rock or pebble in a clear pond, the first thing you see is a huge ripple. Is that visual thing? Come right. That's the most obvious thing, mother-daughter relationships. It's about the difficulty of mother-daughter relationships. And then the further you go out, the ripples become ever so. Is there one there? How far does it go? When my children, I used to love canoeing, and when we go out canoeing on a lake or something, to occupy them sometimes, they weren't old enough to, my husband and I was always the bow, he was the stern. But anyway, I'd always say, all right, I'm gonna throw this rock in. How many ripples do you see? It'd just be to occupy them. I wanted them to sit still so he wouldn't turn over. And they would argue about it. Oh, I see, no, there's one out there. No, they didn't. I wanted to say, who cares, but you were still for 5 minutes. Anyway, so this is the difficulty of mother-daughter relationships. Even dealing with family relationships. You could go so far as to say, extends to any family relationships, or it extends to relationships in which there are intimate, that are very intimate, which can be a husband, or even a colleague can go out like that. Or you could even go so far if you want to pretend that there's a ripple, the difficulty of words. and you're trying to communicate with somebody that you're emotionally involved. Now, this is where you get some perhaps, suggests, implies. Because if you read a poem about a mother and daughter having an argument, oh, well, this is obviously about the inability of words for communication. Where'd you get that? What, I'm sitting here reading it. So you have to guide the reader there, the perhaps. Now, it's enough on this one, but I would suggest that you, before Monday, that you go over this. You have a lot, what are some other structures that this is just ninth grade, but when it comes time for the crunch, I like to go back to the simplest form that you can remember. What are the other mnemonic or other devices you all use, just right up here when you're looking at the material?
You're looking at me. I mean, you guys might remember, I mean, there are variants of the TP-Cast, TP-DAS, TP-Fast. Sometimes there's diddles.
That's not reading.
That's not jumping out at you.
I want to go with the diddles. When in that, it doesn't matter what you call it. Have some kind of framework, but you're not ready to write your paper until mentally you've gone through here. Does that make sense to you? And therefore, what are you going to write in your thesis paragraph? God, this sounds like formulaic writing, doesn't it?
Yes.
Well, it's IB, and IB doesn't have a sense of humor. And it's certainly not a time to show how creative you are. Right? Save your sense of humor, all right? You can write me, I love it. And I'll even do that IB, but they really don't. I think one of my criticisms of IB is that they do not, IB, it doesn't honor creativity as much as I would like to. For instance, I'm in here talking to you, I would get counted off probably by IB. Well, what's the structure of your lesson? Where's this? And there's peek here, and then it's gonna come out. I don't know, I'll figure it out when I get in there. Okay, F. And so, but I do think your thesis paragraph has got to include your paraphrase of what it's about, and then lead up to some of the other things. And then you can do all this other stuff in the middle of the paper. I don't want to be too structured. You all are too good writers for me to be too complicated there. Okay, now let's look at what I gave you. Any questions about paper 2? Because I'm not going to cover this anymore unless you have some questions for me tomorrow. Paper 1, I meant, paper 1. Any questions about paper 1? If you have some questions for me about it tomorrow, no one has asked the question, how long does it have to be?
How long does it have to be?
So that I can give the smart aleck answer.
As long as it needs to be?
That's right. So let's forget all that. I'll just say, how long does it need to be? It needs to be, you don't get to use the computer on this, do you? We're still doing longhand?
Yes, ma'am.
Because too much plagiarism has gone on. Okay.
How does that?
Okay, excuse me.
No. Don't know.
I thought I was very nice. You've not seen me in real action. I'm not, all right. Now let's look at this. You have not looked at these prompts before. And I don't think, because these are very, very old. We're proud of you, Mr. Talton. We're proud for you.
Look, what's it for?
Don't hide it. Your birthday?
It's being a teacher on Teacher Appreciation Week. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
It's for my birthday.
Is today your birthday?
No, ma'am. It's belated.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
No, it was the 27th.
Oh.
It was the 27th, I remember.
It's all good. It's all good. Maybe. All right. Now, have you seen, look at the top of paper too, drama, because you're gonna have to write on drama. You don't have a choice, you gotta write on drama. Have you seen these prompts before? I know you've seen a lot of them. I'm bringing these back because they're vintage. This was the very first IB test I gave. And my point is to go back and compare it to all the other ones you've looked at since then, and they're pretty much the same. Look at drama. Either as the action of the play unfolds, dramatic tension is often produced by the contrast of concealment and revelation. Compare at least two of the plays in light of this statement. Now, Mary is going to give you a hint. Oh God, that's so good. I just have to know two plays. Baseline two plays. You choose to add another. Be sure you don't add it just because to do it when you don't know what you're talking about. But if you have one that really fits in. Now, let's play around for just a minute. Look at all of these. Do you all have something with which to write, something to write on? I don't care if you write on this. I want to play around with you to show you. I want to point out what you know and what you don't know. Let's talk about concealment, revelation. Is that what this question is? All right. When you have, if you ever get into writing mysteries, part of these, there's a formula for writing a mystery. There's a formula for writing those god-awful formulaic love novels. In a mystery, you give your clues just like this all the way through. And the important thing is to, at the end, oh my God, I never suspected him. Oh. And you say, yeah, but the writer should have, and never mind. Anyway, so concealment, if you'd only know, he was really the long lost stepchild of the grandfather. Oh, okay. That works in Oliver, but it doesn't work in a lot of other places. Now, what I want you to do right now is to choose, I'm going to make you choose 3 plays that you would use to answer this question. Get a sheet of paper. And we're not going to write an essay. Thank you, Ms. Adams. But you are going to, and I think just a minute, I don't want you to give me, I know what you've done and it's wonderful. Let's look at things over here that you have. Look back over here at things that you have dealt with. I was so impressed with this. And I don't want you to come up with words or details. I want you to come up with quotes that you recall from the 3 plays you're going to talk about that you would use. Because quotations are to support main ideas that you're talking about. Those quotes are what show the intimacy with the text. Are y'all tired of my saying the same thing every time I come in here?
No.
Because you've heard this about 100 times from me. Because if you do not use the quotes or the text, that implies I was just one of those lazy American students who just goes to the internet and gets the summary. It's a step beyond Wikipedia, but only 2. Go, see if you remember any quotes for this one to use. Okay, stop. I'm gonna go around and ask you to give me one quote and what play it's from. Let's just say what play it's from in one quote. You don't have to explain how you're going to use it. Okay, we'll start right here, Ms. Wade.
To a nunnery go in Hamlet.
To be or not to
Our mistake was getting on the boat from Rosencrantz.
Yes, my mistake was getting. Oh my gosh, yeah. Yes, sir. Out damn spot. From they can use Macbeth also. Is that right?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I still like the line, but it just. Okay, Kennedy. Honey, do you not feel well? All right, go to the nurse. Go ahead and go to the nurse. I'm sorry. Okay. Yes.
When George revealed that like those who died were like his fault, I don't remember the exact word.
I killed them. I killed.
That was it.
I killed him.
That was it, yeah. But I wanted-
Did you have to? Yes, it was time.
Thank you.
Seems, madam? I'm sure of it. From, Hamlet.
Seems. Nay, madam, I know not seems. That's wonderful. Yes.
Hi, Mother, 'tis coming.
Aye, madam, 'tis common. Tramp. Yeah. No.
To be or not to be.
Okay.
I couldn't remember any, I just wrote Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Well, hey, that's a line. And it's something that became a name of the play. Okay, yes.
It's just a man failing to reappear from Rosencrantz.
What?
It's just a man failing to reappear.
Man failing to reappear. Is that actually a line?
I think it's a-
Okay, I just haven't read it in 102 years yet.
There must have been a moment where we could have prevented all of this if we had just said no. And Rosencrantz was on the screen.
There must have been a moment. Oh my God.
From Hamlet, where he said he didn't know how to
Well, it's name it. I know not seems. I don't know how to put on the inky club and pretend to be sad. That is what I've had. This deep inside.
She don't protest.
Oh, yes. Save that for your children when they try to talk their ways out of something. I promise I did. Blah, 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 blah. The child doesn't protest too much, and it can be a man or a woman. Okay, yes.
We'll do better next time. At the very end of Guildenstern.
Okay. Good luck. Yeah. I'm sorry, we're through. Now, let me, those of you who said to be or not to be, I'm not gonna ask you this, that's wonderful but that is the most quoted line in all of Hamlet. Now, what I'm gonna suggest, that there are others, that show his depression or his flirtation with suicide. And his self-hatred. You need to know those soliloquies. For instance, oh, that this too solid flesh would melt. That's the one in Act 1. To be or not to be is in Act 2. All right. Now tell me, I didn't hear any of you mention one from Death of a Salesman. Is that because you've been away from it so long?
I wrote down one from Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
You
where-
wrote what?
From Who's Afraid of Virginia
Yes, you
Woolf,
did.
Where Nick was talking to George about Honey and how she blew up and then went down.
She blew up and then she went down. It's called How to Snag a Husband. Okay.
I wrote down from Virginia Woolf whenever George starts singing the song to her at the very
Yes.
end.
Yes. Who's afraid of Virginia Woolf? Virginia Woolf. I am, George. I am. What?
I remember like, freezing and tears.
Oh, the beginning of Act 3 in Virginia Woolf. I wish I'd written that. And would you tell people I did? I cry all the time. George cries all the time. And what do? We put our tears in ice trays.
them in the ice box. Then we put the ice in our drinks. It's that water cycle. Okay. Now, suicide. Where did we talk about, Hamlet, to be or not to be. He wants to die. Oh, that this too solid place with no. Now, what if you say, oh my God, but I don't know about any other suicides? I want to say good, but there are other ways of committing suicide, are there not? Who in these plays that you've read, a horror, who else commits suicide? Huh? Ophelia, for sure. What other plays? Yes. Huh? Willie Loman. When he crashes his car in hopes that Biff will get the insurance money. Now, that's the central question, perhaps, for many people is to be or not to be. To go on living or to kill myself. Don't you ever be that person. You come to me. But let's just say all the existentially, and there are a lot of ways that you can kill yourself that don't require physically dying. So we have the physical, those who either commit, Ophelia and Willie for sure, and then Hamlet contemplates it. But then on the other hand, this is where you go to the second ripple. There are other ways of killing yourself. Which character in these 4 plays that you've read is another form of suicide? Of killing relationships, hopes, and dreams? George, he just kind of goes, take another drink and feel better. He just kind of sleepwalks through life. And drunk and stupid. And all that matter, did he really kill his mother and father? And trying to avoid a porcupine? Who cares? Whatever it is, he's a disappointment to him. He killed him that way. So we don't know. We can't say that. But whether or not he physically killed him, there's a strain in the relationship that he was a disappointment to. And he kills the child, does he not? I would say Biff Loman pretty much commits suicide in the sense of just kind of wasting his life. Just because he's so angry at his father, and his father has puffed him up so much that he refuses. It's all his fault, my daddy's fault. Yeah, grow up, Biff. Okay. Now, as action of the play unfolds, dramatic action is produced by the contrast of concealment. All right. Do you need to do some more? Not this second. It hurt my feelings. Working on textual quotes. I'm going to suggest that Thursday and Friday of this week that you have a self-imposed workshop to go back and to look at all of the different prompts that you've had and find quotes that'll go in there. Because you're not going to have those prompts, but you're going to have those. And that'll raise your score in a hurry as much as anything. Let's look at number 2. And this is what I wrote. Compare by B, either compare and contrast the presentation of any 3 or 4 characters in plays you have studied. Say how and how effectively each character seems to you to further the dramatic force of the play in which he or she appears. The wording of this prompt, in Mary's opinion, is a little awkward. Think about it for just a minute and see if you can come up with any characters here, and then we're going to find quotes. Come up with characters that in the different plays, just make a list of them, and then we'll add some quotes in there. This is a gold mine question. There's so many characters you can use, and it all depends on how you interpret it. It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong on this question. Okay, some of you are still thinking, all of you have written down something, I think. If my eyesight is working. Pins down for a minute. Just give me one idea that you have come up with. One character that does what the prompt asks you to do. Mr. Neiman, we'll start there with you this time.
Probably like Guildenstern, because he always tries to like be in control, so he's not.
Okay, yes.
I was thinking about like the guy that's the player in Rosencrantz.
Okay, oh, definitely, yeah.
He like says everything that's gonna happen. And it happens.
Absolutely, yes.
I would say Ben from.
Ben, oh, did you say Ben
Yes.
from Death of a Salesman?
Yes.
Uh-huh, absolutely. Yeah.
Martha, I was gonna do Martha.
What?
Martha.
Martha? I'm gonna ask you, yes, but tell me a little bit more. How would you
Oh.
use that?
Just the whole, like, nothing's as it seems, like something's, putting on a facade, to show up inner demons.
Okay,
I would say George.
tell me a little bit more. I couldn't agree more, but tell me a little bit more. What would you explain?
That he's like maybe settled for her because he like really loved her, but then he's gone through all of this with like her parents and not being the man that was portrayed.
And at first, we just see him as someone who's irritated with his wife and quarrelsome. And then as it goes through, we find out all of this stuff. And the drunker he gets, the more it goes down, yes,
I put Martha,
because,
I kind of just thought about her when I read the poem. It's like, I'm just like,
well, you just said that about the ice cubes a minute ago. Martha, and peel the onion, do you remember that? And the more, and that's what it's all about. When the drunker they get, the more they get down to you slosh around, you have the internal organs. You knew what you were saying.
I put Laertes from Emma, and I said that because like, towards like the end of the play when they had that like fencing match, obviously that's one of like the exciting part, and like where like you don't know who's gonna die.
So you just settle on everybody. When in doubt, it's everybody. Okay, except Horatio, he's got to stay to tell the story. Yes. Yes, Ben, definitely. You don't know until the end that he's not even there. Yeah.
I put Biff and kind of his like resentment towards his father pretty much.
Oh, and you find out near the end and that he had caught his father with having an affair.
That's huge as causality.
I put Martha as well. It just seems like every time she leaves and comes back, stuff just gets worse.
That's right. Some of it has to do with the alcohol that she's consumed,
I probably feel you because I feel like she's like kind of throughout the play used as a tool for the other characters, and so then.
And I don't know that you were here the day that we discussed Ophelia in her rambling. We found what she says in her subconscious coming out. I was a maid who rapped on your door to be your Valentine. In a maid that out a maid never departed more. I didn't get that right. But in other words, she lost her virginity to Hamlet. And we don't know that until she is, and we don't know that for sure. We weren't there. No hidden cameras, but we're pretty sure. Okay. That's where you do probably. Yes.
I put this player
Yeah.
as his interactions with Guildenstern kind of sets, like help the reader relate to the absurdity of it all.
I never quite do, but he helps. That's right.
It's a really, just like, the chase after the American Dream. You know, you check off all the boxes, but it's, you still look disappointed. Never get there.
In the very end. So. Yes.
I put Nick and Honey and how they're a full character of Martha and George. Because with Nick, he takes care of Honey and how like, oh, you should probably less because you're so drunk. But like with George, he just keeps like giving Martha more alcohol. And then it gets worse.
And at the very end, when Honey is so drunk and she says, I don't want to have any children. And here's Nick the stud, and she can't stand for her husband to come near her. And the stud can't perform with Martha either.
I said Charlie from Death of the Salesman.
yes.
Because I feel like he furthers Louis' downward style.
By just comparing, by the comparison. All right, let me ask you something. This is just a handy hint. There are some things that probably you will not see on the IB test unless you choose to carefully bring them in, and I'm going to emphasize carefully. IB does not go for controversial topics. When we're talking about femininity and masculine, feminine roles, etc. concepts, I promise you, in the age of Me Too movement, you're not going to see a question about feminist issues. Does that make sense at all? Because they want to avoid anything that would ignite something with students that they'd be so passionate about, they want to tell you about it and proselytize about it, when all they want to see is how well you can read and how well you can write, not how well you can pontificate. Go write an editorial for the paper, but don't put your editorial in there. That's why I doubt if you'll see something too much on the division of the sexes. I may be wrong. What's another topic that you think might be avoided? Classism, it might be avoided. You can bring it in, but it wouldn't be, it might be cited like that. But I've seen one that suggested the division of the haves and have-nots, or every society has some and some this, but it wouldn't be this, it wouldn't invite your vitriolic aspect of it. Also, I've never seen one on religion. Ever. Because it's very difficult for people who are extremely religious to write dispassionately about religion out there. Now you'll see things about different cultural traditions. Yeah, you can bring that in. Sometimes the religion and culture in a society are the same, but you're not going to see anything on IB that invites this argument, this ninth grade debate kind of argument. Have you seen any practice questions like that?
Okay, the other one is, when you use terms like existentialism, I wrote my, both my master's thesis and my PhD dissertation involving existentialism, and later, it's not about me, but what I'm saying is, you better, when you throw a term like that, you better show in some slight, or just paraphrase the way that you know exactly what you're talking about. When you say, so-and-so has to make an existential decision. Okay. So, you must explain what that decision is. It's not that your readers are babies and that they don't understand, but when you use a word like that, and God, please use it effectively, but then give an example that he makes the existential decision to leave home and family rather than to continue being the unloved son. Gives you that one little phrase. Now, I'll see you tomorrow. We're gonna do a lot more work, I think, with text. Let me just tell you this, can I give you my impression right now? No, Ms. Adams, we couldn't give Melissa, we don't care what you think. The one that you answered the most on, the Rosencrantz, the Guildenstern, and Hamlet, because those are the ones you just finished. Really need to go back and look. I gave you some notes, I believe, on Virginia Woolf and Death of a Salesman. And remember, Virginia Woolf and Death of a Salesman are American. See you tomorrow.